answering. He's not answering. Okay, let me pick another person. Yes, Fisayo, you're my sister's namesake, so I'll pick you. So can you just share your experience with us this past few days? The major highlight for you. Okay, Ibrahim, you're here. So unmute your mic. Let's hear you talk. Want to hear your voice. Ibrahim, we're waiting for you. Ibrahim, we don't want to talk. At least, okay, you can drop it in the chat box if you are more comfortable doing that. Okay, a noisy place. Okay, then let's pick another person. Fisayo, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, yes, nice. That's so nice to hear your voice. So I'd just like you to share your experience. How's the conference been? What was the major highlight for you?
So far it has been nice, and even though I kind of missed the very first session because I was in transit, I did not miss the three others. And my best so far has been Dr. Abraham's session yesterday, when he was speaking about the values, conscious incompetence, and stuff like that. How we need to like give value back. Oh my God, sorry, something right now. Yeah, boy, my best so far was Dr. Abraham Owosheni's session yesterday.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think my best so far was his session too. It was really lovely, and I think it was really very impactful. He mentioned the major things that actually needs improvement. So I need another person to talk. I'm calling on the vice president of Leaders Fort, no other than Ifunaya Eze. Okay, Ma, let's have you. What was the highlight for you? What was your best session? And what was one thing that you are going to hold with, and you're going to like hold on to for the rest of your life?
Precious. Okay, let me say I enjoyed all the sessions. I picked various points from each one of them. So picking a favorite one, I don't think I actually have a favorite one. It was so enlightening, all of them. But one thing I would say from Dr. Olushola's session was when he said that we cannot succeed. Our success is not in the hands of one person.
Yeah.
So when you feel threatened, when somebody wants to say that is your everything, you be like, "Okay, no, my success is not your hand." So I also took for Dr. Abraham's own, saying that when you have idea of your source, it actually validates who you are. When you know where you come from, you'll not be confused on your identity. And he spoke so much about identity that I know that yes, it's so important in the direction in which I'm going. So I
Okay,
took
yeah. That was very lovely. But so nice to hear from you. So while you were speaking, a very important dignitary, a very important personality stepped into this platform. So I would like us to welcome, give a standing ovation if possible, and with a resounding round of applause, welcome no other than Professor Irene. I mean, she's the first female lecturer in the Department of Political Science. Is that not amazing? So I want you guys to give her a standing ovation wherever you are. Give her a round of applause. Let's just welcome her. Yes, I like the energy. Okay, so Mark, are you with us, ma'am?
Yes,
Professor,
I am. Good evening. Good evening. I'm with you.
Nice to hear from you. I
Good
can't wait
evening.
to listen to all the things that you have in store for us. So right now, we'll just be reading your citation. So I would like leader Olarunke to take over. Leader Olarunke, are you ready for us?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Irene Pogoson is a professor in the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. She holds a BA Honours degree in History from University of Ibadan, where she obtained her master's and doctoral degrees. She also attended the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University and Frederick Ebron Stiftung, New York, USA Ford Academy for Young International Policy Analysts. She is the first female lecturer in the history of Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Before joining the University of Ibadan in 2000, she worked as a research fellow or administrative secretary with the Presidential Panel on Nigeria's Independent History Project. Between 2005 and 2007, Professor Pogoson served as a policy analyst on governance with the Independent Policy Group Abuja, a policy think tank for President Olusegun Obasanjo. She is a highly motivated researcher, teacher trainer, administrator, and policy analyst, an experienced teacher with over 2 decades of experience routing intellectually diverse environments, and she derives pleasure in impacting knowledge to others. Professor Pogoson is committed to utilizing her training in political and gender research and varied consulting experiences to strengthen the transformation of women's political participation for socio-politically inclusive growth and sustainable development. She is knowledgeable in conceiving and building bottom-up programs, a team leader and member, and skilled communicator with excellent work ethics. Ladies and gentlemen, Leaders Fort Company is pleased to present to you Professor Irene Pogoson.
Wow, that was an amazing citation. This type of citation you read like, oh my God, people are actually fulfilling purpose. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Professor Irene as she comes and takes us on challenges and opportunities for females in leadership. You have the floor, ma'am. Please let's clap for, let's give her a round of applause, please. It's so nice to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you so very much. I feel honored to be amongst you guys, and I'm hoping that by the end of our time together, we would have indeed impacted and gained from ourselves. Because for me, I believe that learning is a two-way process. And I always take away something from people or the people I try to impact knowledge on. And so let's start by saying that I'd like us to make this session interactive. Interactive in the sense that wherever you feel you need to come in, please come in with your questions, with your comments. And when I want to ask questions, I would also start by asking questions. And I think I would go straight and ask you guys. You can see my screen, can't you?
We can, ma'am.
Okay. The first quotation by Shirley Sandberg says, in the future, there will be no female leaders. There will just be leaders. Remembering that our topic this evening is challenges and opportunities for females in leadership. And so if we say in the future, sometime soon, hopefully whilst I'm still alive, there will be no female leaders. But what we will have will be just leaders. Can anybody provide an understanding of what that is? What do you think that quotation is telling us?
Good evening, ma.
Good evening. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Amida Tolajide.
Okay, good.
Yes, I think it just means that there will be no stereotype when it comes to leadership.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well said. Any other? No stereotypes.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name is Tolulope Salami.
Okay, Tolulope.
So I think the very first thing I got from the quote is that as it stands, the concept of leadership is automatically insinuating males, the male counterparts, that whenever we hear leadership, we're automatically thinking men, but in the nearest future, we think leaders as leaders regardless of gender.
Wonderful, well said. Can we have a third viewpoint? A third viewpoint. So what Tolulope has done is to situate the present within that quotation, telling us that right now, when you think about leaders, what comes to your mind would be a man, even a boy.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Yes, go on. Who's speaking, please?
Okay, it's Emmanuel here.
Emmanuel.
Yes, my think what?
Yes, go on.
Good evening, ma'am. I think what she's suggesting is that classifying leaders will no longer be necessary in the nearest future, we just have people being introduced generally as leaders. So we will not necessarily have to be saying female leaders, male leaders.
Wonderful. No classification, no more stereotypes like we have in the present. And so, well said, all three of you. We probably don't need this class, but anyway, it will bring back memories. And the second quotation says, to be accepted as leaders, women must often walk a fine line, a thin line between opposing sets of expectations. What do you think these expectations could be? Anybody? So for me to be accepted as a professor in my own right, as a woman, presently, not as a professor, my male counterparts are accepted more as professors. You understand? Nobody would be categorizing them as female professors. So that means there are some opposing sets of expectations, according to Sean Andrews. What do you think these expectations might be? Anyone?
Okay, good evening, ma.
Good evening.
My name is Ifunaya Ezi.
Okay.
So I'm seeing that she means, let me use a scenario. I was listening to a podcast on Chimamanda Adichie. So she said if Michelle Obama had a full black hair like the one they did then, her husband wouldn't have been president. So yes. So I'm believing that there's a certain way that women, we are supposed to dress as leaders, we are supposed to present ourselves as leaders that is not also imposed on men. So, but there's a thin line with that expectation. Nearest future, if we can all stop that expectation, nobody will be telling us a certain way to live our life, do our hair, dress as leaders. So
that is right. I also read about what's her name, Obama's wife, and a lot was said about her dressing and how somewhat she was not dressing in a president's way as the president's wife. She exposed her arms, she wore this, she wore that, expectations. But she proved herself. She proved, and she once said that if she had married somebody else, that somebody else would probably have been the president of the United States of America. And what was she saying? That it is her. She made Obama what he was and what he is. Well said. Any other person, and then we move on. What are those opposing sets of expectations beyond our dressing, beyond the way we speak, beyond the way we look? Any other?
Good evening, ma.
Somebody, yes. Okay,
so
good.
I feel generally women are supposed to be cooler than men, maybe considering the physiology. But for a woman that wants to be called a leader in quotes, she has to demonstrate some unusual charisma from a lady, like emotions that would originally be expected from a man, like someone so the bones or outside of the contemporary reserved, cool, calm and collected women attributes.
Very good. And sometimes they're expected to behave like men. And so all those so-called feminine attributes are to be suppressed. And so you show more, you should be more macho and stuff like that. Very good. And so we're saying, and I'm putting to you guys what you probably know, that half of the world's population are women. 2/3 of the world's work are performed by women. But only 1/10 of the income are owned by women. And less than 1/100th of the world's property are owned by women. However, when you come to the world's labor force, more than 40% are women. And half of the world's population are also women. When it comes to leadership in governance, only 14 of the 193 United Nations member states, these are states that have gained independence, have a woman in the highest position of executive power, either as president or as prime minister or whatever. And this is less than 10% of men in power. And so globally, you find women holding just about 24% of senior leadership positions. Juxtapose this against the fact that women constitute half of the world's population, and they perform 2/3 of the world's work, receiving only 1/10 of the income and owning less than 100 of its property. But the good news is that women's role in society, globally and in Nigeria also, has changed somewhat in the last 3, 4, 5 decades. As you guys can tell, the proportion of women attending university, matriculating from graduate schools, obtaining doctorate degrees has increased dramatically. And you find that women are no longer expected or associated with low expectations, either in education or the workforce. It is the expectation now is not that a woman should be seen, not heard, that her place is in the kitchen, or that she should apply to be a nurse. Even such so-called feminine jobs are now being contested by men. You have men hairdressers, you have men nurses, and so on and so forth. And so if we say so, what I'm saying is that there are various studies which show that women have proved to be success in their own rights. Owners of businesses, either in the public or the private institutions, they've been successful managers, and they are successful leaders. But in spite of this, you find that these positions that women have aspired to, worked hard for, and gained have often come at a cost to them. They carry burdens as stereotyping, prejudice, sexual harassment, tokenism, isolation, biases, and so on and so forth. And the fact is, in spite of all what I have said earlier, men outpace women in leadership roles across all sectors, name it, the corporate world, in technology, nonprofit organization, in government, education, medicine, military, religion, especially religion. Men are the top dogs. And so I asked myself when I was preparing for this class, in an ideal world, sadly, we're not in an ideal world, particularly in our culture, okay, in our domain, we are not in an ideal world, but should we be in an ideal world? Would it really matter whether there's a woman running the IMF, whether there's a woman running Microsoft, or women heading major national political parties, the PDP, the APC in Nigeria, the Democratic Party in the US, and so a Republican Party? Does a small and medium enterprise owner or a tech startup care? Do they care that it's a woman who makes finance more accessible? I doubt it. If a miner, a farmer, factory workers, or fishermen gets a good share of profit, if they can spend it on their children, send their children to school, better the lives of those around them, are they bothered that a woman made that possible? I doubt it. Meanwhile, we have bushfires, we have burst river bands, melting ice caps all over the world. The ozone layer is depleting, solid waste in sewages, plastic islands due to the numerous tons and millions of tons of plastic waste all over the world, and species extinction. None of this consider the sex of the perpetrators or the decision makers. I'm sure they don't. Yet, you find that encouraging more women into leadership positions has become and remain crucial in our era, and given the fast approaching challenges of the future. And so if we think that is the case, my next question would be, what is leadership? Why is it so difficult for women to aspire that thing called leadership? And if we know what leadership is, who then is a leader? So can anybody tell us what leadership is? Anybody? Anybody there? Hello? Have I lost you guys? What is leadership? Are we still together?
I'm with you, ma. Hello?
Okay. Anybody wants to tell us what? Okay. Or should I just go on?
Okay. To me personally, what I've personally considered. Can I go ahead?
Emmanuel, go on.
Okay, ma. I said what I personally conceive leadership to be, and which is actually very practical, is essentially about service. Serving humanity, helping lives.
Serving humanity. Good.
Yeah.
Any other person? Who then is a leader? So let's move on from that. Serving, master-servant relationship. Who then would be a leader?
Good afternoon, ma.
Oyindamola, I guess, yes. Good afternoon.
Yes, ma. A leader is someone who successfully influence or direct himself or herself and others towards a goal.
Very good. So there's a successful influencing of others and herself. So that means they are followers. Very good. And so according to Ronald Reagan, a former US president, the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He or she, I would add, she, is the one that gets people to do the greatest things. And so leadership is not about titles, positions, or flow charts. I'm a chief, I'm a professor, I'm a doctor, I'm a consultant, I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist. No, it's about one life influencing another, according to Maxwell. And so numerous definitions about leadership abound. In fact, scholars continue to explore what constitutes effective leadership. There's a lot of thinking and theorizing about leadership, but I believe that a key area of leadership development is understanding yourself, manage yourself, behaving according to your values, acceptable values, to be a person of character, have a sense of purpose, be committed to what you've embarked on. Paying attention to such issues, to me, is basic to effective leadership. You could be a leader, fine, but the important thing is to be an effective leadership. So you have a leader's sense of self contributes to the ability to understand others, to work with them, so as to achieve common goals. So it's not about personality. It is more about how we behave. And your behavior is an observable set of skills and abilities. So as a leader, I should be able to help myself and help others to do the right things. So you have leaders who help others to do evil things. We know that. Corruption, 419, advance fee fraud, Yahoo, prostitution, modern day slavery and all of that. There are people who would be leaders in such worlds. But we are saying the kind of leadership we want, particularly we want our women to be part of, are those which help themselves and others to do the right thing. You set the direction, build an inspiring vision, create something new, map out where you need to be to win, either within a team, a corporation, an organization. And in that mapping out, you find that it is dynamic, it is exciting, it is also inspiring. So that is what leadership is. Learning to lead, to me, is learning to manage change. And leaders create and change cultures. Conceptually defined, leadership is therefore